The most celebrated genius who ever lived died, believing he was a failure. That's not an exaggeration for a hook. According to the story handed down by his first biographer, Leonardo da Vinci spent some of his final hours in tears, apologizing, saying he had offended God and mankind by never working at his art the way he should have. The man whose name is now a synonym for genius looked back at his own life and saw what you see when you look at yours: a trail of magnificent beginnings, a graveyard of unfinished things, too many interests, too many notebooks, too many projects abandoned the moment a new fascination pulled him away. Sound familiar? If you've ever felt like a failure because you can't stick to one thing, if you've got your own closet of half-finished masterpieces and a quiet voice that keeps score, then today's video is going to do something for you that no productivity advice ever could. Because you are about to find out that the exact pattern you've been ashamed of your whole life, the starting, the wandering, the not finishing, the endless tabs, is the same pattern that produced the single most admired mind in human history. Not despite it, because of it. History calls people like him polymaths. On this channel, we call them pattern weavers. And Leonardo wasn't just one of us, he was the original, the blueprint, the proof written across 500 years that a mind like yours was never broken. This is the first video in a new series where we take history's greatest pattern weavers one at a time and hold them up as a mirror. Not the marble statue versions from textbooks, the real ones, with the unfinished projects and the frustrated patrons and the 500 open tabs. Today, the man himself. I'll show you the graveyard of unfinished work he was criticized for in his own lifetime. I'll show you what was actually happening inside those 7,000 notebook pages. I'll show you the secret synthesis, the specific way his wandering interests fused into breakthroughs no specialist could have made. And at the end, I'll tell you the twist about his most famous painting that reframes the word unfinished forever. If you've spent a lifetime being told to pick a lane, you found your people and you found your ancestor. Subscribe and let's meet him properly. Let's start with the part of Leonardo nobody puts on the postcards. By the standards of his own era, Leonardo da Vinci was famously, almost scandalously unreliable. Patrons learned it the hard way. He accepted a commission for a painting called The Adoration of the Magi, worked it into one of the most ambitious compositions anyone had attempted, and then simply left, moved to Milan, never came back to it. His St. Jerome, same story, abandoned, mid-birth, the figure still half emerged from the panel. In Milan, he spent years on a colossal bronze horse for the Duke, the largest equestrian statue ever conceived. He finished a full-size clay model, and then the bronze was given away to make cannons. And later, invading soldiers used his clay masterpiece for target practice. Years of work, gone, nothing delivered. Later came the Battle of Anghiari, a giant mural that was meant to be his defining public work in Florence. He experimented with an untested painting technique. The technique failed on the wall, and he walked away from that too. His contemporaries noticed. Patrons complained about the pace. The monks whose dining hall he was painting grumbled that he would stand in front of the Last Supper for days without touching a brush. And there's a story told by his biographer Vasari that a pope who had given Leonardo a commission watched him fiddling with experimental varnishes before he'd even started painting, and reportedly declared that this man would never accomplish anything because he was thinking about the end before the beginning. This man will never accomplish anything. Said about Leonardo da Vinci. Sit with that for a second. When the accounting was done at the end of his life, fewer than 20 finished paintings could be attributed to him. Fewer than 20 from 6 decades of work, from the most gifted hand of the Renaissance. Even Leonardo kept score against himself. Scrawled in one of his notebooks amid all the wonders is a line that reads like something from your own worst 2 a.m. self-audit. He wrote, "Tell me if anything was ever done. Tell me if anything was ever done. The greatest mind in history had your inner monologue. So the guilt you carry has a 500-year-old pedigree. But here's where the story turns. Because the question is, if Leonardo finished so little, why is he Leonardo? Why does the whole world know his name and none of his critics? The answer is in the notebooks. While the patrons were counting his unfinished commissions, Leonardo was filling pages. More than 7,000 of them survive to this day, and scholars believe that's maybe half of what he actually wrote. And when you open them, you are not looking at the tidy archive of a disciplined specialist. You are looking at the most beautiful browser history ever created. On a single page, the mechanics of bird flight sit next to studies of swirling water. A design for a machine collides with a grocery list. Anatomical drawings share space with geometry puzzles. Notes on optics, sketches of grotesque faces he'd followed around town all day just to memorize. He wrote his to-do lists in there too, and they are the most relatable documents in the history of genius. One list famously includes the task, "Describe the tongue of the woodpecker." The tongue of the woodpecker. No patron asked for that. No project required it. There was no deliverable. He just needed to know. With the same itch you feel at midnight when you open one more tab about something that has nothing to do with your job. He had no formal education to speak of. He was born illegitimate, was barred from the universities, never properly learned Latin, and got dismissed by the lettered scholars of his day. He called himself an unlettered man and said in his own defense that he was a disciple of experience. He taught himself everything by looking, by asking, by dissecting, by wandering. Anatomy, botany, geology, engineering, optics, hydraulics, music, architecture. He didn't study these as separate subjects. He roamed across them the way you roam, following the pull, and the notebooks were his loom, the place where every thread got collected, whether or not it would ever obviously be useful. Here's what matters. To his contemporaries, those notebooks looked like the problem, the scattered attention, the proof he couldn't focus. History's verdict is precisely the opposite. The paintings made him admired. The notebooks made him immortal. The unfinished, wandering, tab-hoarding part of Leonardo, the part everyone criticized, is the part we now recognize as the greatest single record of human curiosity ever produced. Your 500 tabs are not the opposite of a masterpiece. Sometimes they are the masterpiece. But let's go deeper, because Leonardo's real secret was not that he was curious about many things. It's what happened when the things collided. This is the pattern weaver's signature. And in Leonardo, you can watch it operating in broad daylight. Take water and hair. Leonardo was obsessed with water, genuinely obsessed, filling page after page with studies of currents, eddies, and vortices, trying to understand turbulence centuries before physics had the tools for it. A useless obsession by any patron's measure, except look closely at his paintings, and there it is. He himself noted the resemblance. The curling of hair, he observed, behaves like the motion of water. The spiraling locks in his portraits are river vortices, translated into paint. The specialist painters of his day painted hair from looking at hair. Leonardo painted hair from understanding rivers, and that is part of why his figures seem alive in a way that still stops people in museums 5 centuries later. Take the anatomy. Leonardo personally dissected, by his own count, more than 30 human bodies by candlelight, at a time when that work was dangerous and grim. No painting commission required him to trace the branching of nerves or map the muscles that produce a smile from the inside. But when he then painted a face, he wasn't painting the surface of an expression. He was painting an expression from underneath, from the machinery outward. The most famous smile in the world sits on that foundation. The mysterious, flickering expression of the Mona Lisa is anatomy and optics, and his studies of light and shadow all fused into a single effect no pure painter could have engineered, because no pure painter
owned those threads, and it ran the other direction too. His art trained his eye, and that trained eye made him a better scientist, letting him observe and draw what others literally could not see. The engineering fed the painting fed the anatomy fed the engineering. Nothing he learned stayed in its lane because he didn't have lanes. He had a loom. This is the answer to why the man who finished almost nothing became the greatest mind in history. Every abandoned project was a completed harvest. He left the adoration unfinished, but he kept everything the attempt taught him about composition and chaos. The bronze horse was destroyed, but the years of studying horse anatomy and casting technology stayed in the notebooks and fed everything after. What looked like a graveyard of failures was actually a warehouse of threads, and the weaving never stopped, even when the individual projects did. He wasn't failing to finish, he was refusing to stop collecting. And now the twist I promised, the one that should permanently change your relationship with the word unfinished. The Mona Lisa, the most famous painting on Earth, the image that draws millions of people a year to stand in a crowd just to glimpse it, was never delivered. Leonardo began it as an ordinary portrait commission for a Florentine merchant's wife, and then he simply kept it. He carried that painting with him for the rest of his life, over the Alps and into France, working on it, adjusting it, layering it for something like 16 years. He was still refining it near the end, by the standard of his own era, by the standard of the man who paid for it, by arguably Leonardo's own standard. The Mona Lisa is an unfinished painting. The greatest artwork in human history is an entry in somebody's graveyard of incomplete projects. So, what does finished even mean? The world drew a line under Leonardo's life and called the works complete, called the notebooks priceless, called the man a genius. The unfinishedness that tormented him, that his patrons billed him for, that he apologized for with his dying breath, evaporated entirely from history's ledger. Nobody stands in front of the Mona Lisa thinking about what it lacks. Nobody reads the notebooks and mourns the treatises he never organized them into. Time kept the threads and forgot the missing deadlines. He judged himself by completion. History judged him by connection. And history's verdict is the one that lasted. So here's the mirror this series is about, and I want to hold it up carefully because I know who's watching. Some of you are in your 20s, just discovering what your mind is, and some of you I know from the comments are in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and you've carried the failure story for an entire lifetime. Decades of believing the unfinished things disqualified you. If that's you, then this next part is especially yours. Leonardo was wrong about himself. The deathbed verdict, the tell me if anything was ever done, the apology for the art he didn't make, all of it was wrong, and it took the rest of the world 500 years to prove it. He was using the only measuring stick his era gave him, completed commissions, and by that stick he fell short. But the stick was measuring the wrong thing. His value was never going to show up in a count of finished paintings. It lived in the notebooks, in the connections, in the way he wove water into hair and anatomy into smiles, in a body of curiosity so rich that humanity is still mining it. If the greatest mind in history could be that wrong about his own worth, using the wrong stick, then it is at least worth asking, what stick have you been using on yourself? And who handed it to you? Your unfinished things did not disappear into nothing. Every one of them left a thread in your notebooks, whether your notebooks are made of paper or just of you. The harvest is in there. The weaving may already be happening in ways you haven't noticed. And the verdict you've been pronouncing on yourself at 2 a.m. is exactly as reliable as Leonardo's was, which is to say, not at all. So here's the practical takeaway, the one Leonardo hands every pattern weaver across 5 centuries. Keep the notebook. He turned a wandering mind into an immortal one with the simplest tool imaginable, a place where every thread got written down, honored, kept, whether or not it had a use yet.
Your version might be paper, might be an app, might be the ideal ledger we've talked about on this channel before. The form doesn't matter. What matters is that the collecting gets treated as the real work, because for a mind like his, and like yours, it always was. Own your loom. Leonardo owned his, even while apologizing for it. You get to skip the apology. Next time in this series, we'll meet a pattern weaver who turned an unlikely pair of worlds, Hollywood glamour and wartime radio engineering, into an invention your phone is using right now. Her story is proof that the threads don't have to make sense to anyone else until the day they suddenly do. But before you go, the question, and I genuinely want to know because I suspect this comment section is going to be something special. Leonardo carried the Mona Lisa around for 16 years, unfinished. Do you have a Mona Lisa in your closet? The one project you've never quite finished and never quite abandoned? The one you're still secretly carrying? Tell me what it is below. No shame in this comment section. You're among weavers here, and as of today, you know exactly whose company that puts you in. Thanks for watching. Now go add a page to the notebook.